Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Tanya. Today we are going to be working on a little project in my daughter's room. Currently we are redoing both of my children's rooms, and I recently took a desk out of my son's room because he had a second desk for his computer and my daughter wanted one, and it seemed like a good time since COVID and schooling at home and things like that. So I took the one he wasn't using and we painted it to match her room, and now we're going to work on the inside of it. So it is an old desk. It was given to us a long time ago. I think it spent quite a few years in a barn. So it's not in the best of shape. It's not the greatest desk, but hey, it's free, so it works. So I ordered some shelf liner. So we're gonna line all the drawers, and then we're gonna create an organizer in one of the drawers. So I'm gonna show you how I do that on a budget. I will link everything that I use below. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, here's what we are working with. So these are the drawers. As you can see, they are in kind of rough shape. It's not like a super high quality desk, but it works for what we need it for. So we're going to line these. And then she's got like a little top drawer that will hold all of her stationery stuff. And this is where we're going to make the organizer. So we're gonna make this custom. I'm gonna show you how to do it really inexpensive. This is a foam board from the Dollar Tree. So far we've spent $1. And then I am using my glue gun, some extra glue sticks, a pencil for marking. I have a tape measure for measuring the lengths I want stuff. You can use any kind of ruler or measuring device, a box cutter, and then I picked up this drawer liner or shelf liner from Amazon. I think it was around $7 or $8. I will link it below. It's like a dusty pink marble. So that's what we're gonna line the drawers with, and then we'll create our organizer with that. So the first thing I'm going to do is start by measuring these drawers. These are actually the side drawers to the desk, and there are 3 that will have the same exact measurements. And then I'm going to open my contact paper and I am going to measure the width of it. It's 12 inches wide. And then I'm going to cut my length, which will be, I'm going to do like 15 inches since it was 14 inches that I need. I will eventually come back in and cut the width down to 10 inches just because I found it really hard to place this contact paper because it did not want to bend because it's thick. So tip for you, cut your width or your length around the same length and it will help you to lay it out. Next, I'm just wiping down the drawers to make sure there's no debris for when I put this down. And then I am just taking and pulling back the backing from this just a couple of inches and pushing it down as I pull the lining off. It's a lot easier to do it if you have a credit card or a loyalty card to smooth down the paper as you go. You'll see I go get one in just a minute, but I forgot to start off with one. And then you want to go in and smooth out any air bubbles along the way as well with a credit card or loyalty card. And then once that is down, I'm just going to take my box cutter. You could use an X-Acto knife or a regular knife or a utility knife and just cut the excess from the edges so that it has clean lines around the bottom of the drawers. Okay guys, here's what before and after looks like. So that's what they did look like, and then that's what it looks like with the liner. This liner is a lot thicker than I thought it would be, and also it's like super shiny and super sticky. So it's a little bit harder to work with than I anticipated. So one tip for you is to cut accurately on either the width or the length, just so that if you're doing a drawer, you can actually fit it in there, because it did not want to bend for me at all when I cut it a little bit longer. So I ended up going back in and cutting to 10 inches wide and a little bit longer on both ends. That way I could cut it afterwards to size. So now that the side drawers are done, we're going to work with the top longer drawer. So I have to empty it out of all the stuff. I had laid it out in the areas I wanted it to fit in just to see what I could fit in here and what I have to work with later. So I'm just taking all that out, wiping it out, and then I need to measure this drawer just because it has different dimensions than the other side. And then I am taking my contact paper and I'm actually just going to score where I need to cut this with my nail. I'm just pushing it against the edge and then I'm cutting it a little bit longer than that. And I'm doing the same thing, just pulling back a little bit of the liner, pressing it down as I pull the liner and getting all the air bubbles out with my credit card. For the back portion of the drawer, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to measure the length by just scoring it with my fingernail, and then I'll cut it a little bit longer than that. And then I'm just going to take and measure about a 1/4 inch wider than where the rest of the paper lays, if that makes sense. So it's going to overlap by about a 1/4 of an inch. That way I make sure to cover the entire drawer, and then again I will take off the excess paper. So here's all 4 of the drawers complete with the contact paper. They turned out really nice, and what I love about this is it's shiny, but it's wipeable. So before with the wood, it wasn't so easy to clean, but now it will be easy. Okay, now the real fun starts. So my favorite part is organizing, of course. So basically what I want to do is find out how tall this drawer is, because you don't want your organizer pieces to be any taller because it'll stop your drawer from going in. What I think I want to do is measure this back drawer. Sometimes these front pieces are taller than the drawer itself. This one I think is the same, but to be safe, I'm going to use this as my measurement. So it is 2 inches. So on my board here, I'm going to cut myself some 2-inch strips to start, and then we'll go from there. So to make these 2-inch strips, I'm just taking my ruler and I'm marking 2 inches all the way down, and then I'm lining those dots up with my ruler to make my straight line. And then once I have that done, I'm going to take my ruler, set it up against the line, and use it as a guide to score with my box cutter. I'm not cutting all the way through. I'm going to turn the board over, bend it where I just cut it, and then cut the rest of it. So if you're worried about my carpet, I didn't cut it. And then now I have this first piece cut and measured, I can use it as a guide to cut all the rest of it. So you can either lay it on the board and just use the box cutter up against that, or you can lay it on the board, mark it with a pencil, and then use your ruler to score again with the box cutter. So I did it both ways so I could show you what the difference was and how it ends up being. I do find the lines are a little bit cleaner with the ruler. And then I'm also going to rub off like the excess foam, because it does break apart a little bit as you cut it. And then the first piece, I am just going to lay in the length of this. I'm going to call the long side the length on this drawer. And for my first section, I'm going to lay the pins inside the drawer to see what kind of width I need. And then I'm just laying my next 2-inch piece up, marking it with a pencil and cutting it with scissors to the length I need. And then when I went to lay the pencils in, I realized that this was the wrong length because my pencils are longer than my pens. So learn from me. This worked out because it was the right length for the highlighters, which go at the back of the drawer. So that is where I'm going to end up starting. So I'm going to take this first piece and go ahead and glue it on this long piece. And this will be my first section that will hold the highlighters. And then I'm going to continue on doing this. So basically I'm going to build the left side of this box first, then I'm going to move over to the right side. So you'll see that in just a minute. So I'm going to measure my next section, cut it, and go ahead and glue it where my dry erase markers will sit. And then I'm going to move on from there. So the next thing I'm doing is adding another length to the back of the drawer, just because these dividers, it felt like they needed a little bit of bracing. So at the end, I will glue this back piece on, but I need it there for the length for right now so that I can measure all the little sections. And then I am moving on to the front of the drawer, still the left side. I measured that first piece, so I'm just using it as a guide to cut a couple of other sections that I will use to make some other boxes. I don't even know if this is making sense. I hope it is. But basically, I'm just pre-cutting a few pieces that I will use to make the rest of these dividers. So this next one is the divider for the pencils that will lay next to the pens. And then once this is done and glued in, I'm actually going to move over to the other side. We have a couple of these little containers, and I needed this section to be a little bit deeper than was allowed with this, so I am cutting the length finally. So now you're going to see I'll build the right side of this box. I am going to do one long strip from the back of the drawer to the front of the drawer, and this will serve to build the little section for the stamps and little stationery kit. And then I am building a divider from the back of this, which will hold all of her little pencil sharpeners. And as I cut these, I will glue them in, and you'll see that these dividers become a lot more stable the further I go along. So next I am working with the scissors. I just have to find an area that they can sit and how big that section needs to be, because it also needs to hold her compass and protractor. So once I have that measured out, I am going to add another divider in right here. And then comes a little bit more difficult part. The next section that I just built will hold her staples and paper clips and little mini clothespins and lead and all the little things. And because I don't want these to slide underneath the dividers, I'm actually going to build a box. So I'm going to take some of my board, and I'm just going to measure out a piece that will sit on the bottom flat against the drawer. And this will serve for the bottom of the box that will hold like the paper clips and all the little things that I don't want sliding around in the drawer. Once I have the size of the bottom of the box figured out, I'm just going to build a second wall of this box basically. So I'm just taking a piece and creating a divider from the staples up to the bottom of that box. I hope this is making sense. I am so sorry if it's not. Please leave questions below if you're confused about anything. And then I'm just going to glue that all together so that it is secure. And then I am going to go ahead and build the other two sides of that box and also a little divider that will divide the paper clips from the little mini clothespins. So with the divider that sits in this box, the one thing that you have to keep in mind is that you do have to cut a little bit off of the width of this, or the depth of it. I don't know what you want to call it, but basically the bottom of the box is about, I don't know, 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch tall. So you have to accommodate for that so that it all sits flush and doesn't catch when the drawer opens and closes. So that is what I did there. And then I'm just creating the fourth side of the box so that this part is complete. And actually this wraps up the whole front of this divider. And once that is done, I am just going to go back into the back part of the drawer and add in a couple more dividers for Sharpies and chalk pens. So now that all the dividers are done, I still have to glue this back section on. So I'm just taking a pencil and marking where all the dividers will hit on it. And that way I can take the whole thing out and glue the back on separately. So I'm just going to run glue up each one of these dividers and glue this back piece on to the whole thing. If you're curious as to why I did not do this in the front as well, it's because I wanted as much length to the drawer, or depth, I don't even know what you want to call it. I wanted as much distance from the back of the drawer to the front of the drawer as possible because I wanted the pins and highlighters and everything to be able to sit vertical, not diagonally. And every divider that I used took up a little bit of space and I needed every little bit. So I did not add it to the front. You can if you want, but I didn't find it necessary. So now comes the fun part, and that is loading everything back into this. I get so excited when I see the finished product because I love organization. Once it's all finished, there will be one open section, and that will actually hold a couple calculators. And I just wanted to mention that because it's like blank and open. So everything that my daughter uses and needs will be in this top drawer, which is so cool. Because before it's like it couldn't fit anything, and certainly not in any sort of organized way. But now there's a space for everything, and it doesn't feel like there's too much or it's too cluttered. And she actually has room to grow if she wants, although we're not adding anything to it. Trust me, she's got plenty. But everything's easy to find, everything's easy to use, and we just cannot be happier with how this turned out. And it only cost $1, which you just can't beat that. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a thumbs up if you like this kind of content and want to see more of it. That way I know to keep creating it. And subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell to see more videos from me. I post every Tuesday and Saturday, so there's always new things to see. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video.